All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. I'm sure we'll have some more people trickle in. But again, I want to thank everyone who registered for this event. EasyIT is thrilled to be able to bring this fantastic content. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Elliot from PAX 8, and of course Microsoft for Copilot and some great content here. This is a webinar format, so everyone is joining with their camera off and microphones muted. We have plenty of time slated for questions at the end, so feel free to throw those in the Q&A, and I'll make sure we address everything before the webinar wraps up. So Elliot, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Megan, and thank you for having me here. As Megan said, my name is Elliot Eliason. I am from PAX 8, who is one of Microsoft's largest reseller licenses in the world and has been for the last 4 years Microsoft's Partner of the Year in North America. My title back behind there is PSC, which stands for Productivity Solutions Consultant. That is just our fancy name for your Microsoft guy who helps support EasyIT and by extension yourself. And I'm really excited here to talk about Copilot, but in true PAX 8 fashion, I do have to give you a fun fact about myself. I am 7 feet tall, so I like to say that I am the tallest Microsoft expert in the world. If you have anyone out there who's taller, send them out here to Denver, Colorado. Happy to go back to back with them, see truly who is the tallest Microsoft consultant in the world. But we're not here to talk about myself. We're here to talk about Copilot. What we're going to go through today and do is show a little bit where we're at with this technology, some early feedback, go in talking about some steps to get ready for AI, take a quick video to see at some of the features that Copilot can bring to you, and then talk about that final step of that final security portion to make sure you're secure when utilizing Copilot. But thanks for taking this journey with me. But first, let's get things started off. Let's talk a little bit about where things start off here with generative AI technology. You know, we really have not experienced the fusion of the scale of technology in a ever, honestly, on this side. We can see the growth curve from mobile phones, internet, Facebook is no longer this gentle slope. It's essentially a vertical line. We're looking at the adoption of AI technology. The time to 100 million users, less than 3 months across the world for this technology. If you look back even further, if you went to the printing press, any kind of telephone, we know that speed is even slower. So with these things accelerating, you would have to live and breathe, as well as sleep with this technology on your pillow to keep up. But whilst this technology is advancing faster and faster, it makes more sense to not rush in these different solutions, but have a strategy and a partner to help you guide through these quickly advancing solutions. So really what we're here to do is help you understand how you can focus on your business while still taking advantage of these rapid changes to help support efficiencies and help your business with these changes along the time. Let's move on here a little bit, some early findings when it comes to Microsoft Copilot. I do have to admit, I think we should take some of these survey items with a little bit of a grain of salt. The reason why some of these survey ones are for current Microsoft employees, their data, but I think we can still see some really good trends, and also some good anecdotal experience, as well as some early studies from enterprise early access that I think can give us some more view on these numbers that then make a little bit more sense, and I think can be a little bit more usable. But I think if we look at just a couple of these different data points, I think we can really see the story that Microsoft Copilot is telling. So if we look at the value, I'm going to say that almost 9 out of 10 employees believe they have been more productive once they have access to the tool. To ground it a little bit more, that there's 76% of early access users would agree with this Microsoft survey that they have been more productive when they've been able to have access to Microsoft Copilot. I think one thing too that's good to note as we go through and look at these data points, that when did they talk about their satisfaction with this tool? It's been between 6 and 8 weeks after that they have said this has been increased my productivity by this much. And the reason why it's taken that time is that it takes time to start working with these tools for you as a user and your other users within your organizations to understand, how do I utilize this, but also for the tool to understand your sentiment, understand how your workflow works, understand how it can better express your language to other people through this technology. Again, another couple of things that really do stick out here I want to point out is really the value of workflow. 94% of users find it easier to start first drafts on whatever project they are working on for creating content. And I know for me, anecdotally, that has really been the hardest part of my job, is oftentimes getting some of these projects off of the ground. And again, almost 94% of Microsoft users inside Microsoft has said this has been definitely helpful on that side. Again, for the early access, a little bit lower on that side, about 82%, but still really strong numbers on people showing value on this one. But I think really the most important one of all this is where we can see the meat and potatoes of the ROI on Copilot, and that is the savings in time for employees. Employees have reported about 30 minutes a day of savings time. That equates about 10 hours a month. In my experience, slightly less. It's been about 2 hours a week that I've seen among time savings, and I've been working with this tool for about 7 months. So definitely have some experience on what that is. But regardless if it's 8 or 10 hours a month, that's a large time savings. What I want you to think about is, what does that mean for my employees or myself or whoever it is working in HR, marketing, sales, finance, whatever the department of a company that it might be. What those savings mean for me? Is this worth the cost of licenses? Is it worth the commitment to go into this technology? There's one more thing before we move on that I do want to address really quick too. And if any of you are big nerds like myself, you can listen to the podcast called Work Lab. This is actually where the company that I think has a very good use case called Dentsu Creative talked a lot about their experience with it. They are one of the largest marketing firms in the entire world. They were one of the first early access customers of Microsoft, where they got 300 of those Copilot licenses. When they released that Work Lab a podcast a little bit earlier this year, they had so many requests that over 3,000 of their 9,000 employees went through and requested to have this Copilot. That's how much of an impact it had on those 300 users, and really had the diffusion across of their company demanding that they have this. But I don't only want to point out that has really driven that demand, but also point out like what that 300 licenses means for Dentsu. So that was about, the 300 represent about 4% of their workforce. So when you start thinking about the early adoption of Copilot, think about 5% of your organization that would look like for early adopters. Which workers in your organization would benefit more to it? Who would be committed to working with this tool? Because those are the people you want to have testing on this. So 2 things take away from Dentsu. There's a ton of demand once they're using this tool. And how can I use their model to have champions for myself individually? Let's continue to go through some other Microsoft survey findings. Microsoft, surveyed over 30,000 employees across the world. And really what they came across is that digital debt is costing employers. And just to kind of expand, what do they mean by digital debt? This is time on energy draining things, doing mundane tasks, responding to emails, different things of that nature, instead of really doing their core function. So if we look at the numbers, 64% of employees surveyed do not have a time or energy to do their job. Again, so the primary energy drain was searching for information, navigating inefficient meetings. Employees also on this one reported spending nearly 6% of their time communicating and coordinating. So again, 57% is the true number on those ones. So just trying to find out, hey, what do we need for this meeting? What I need to have for this proposal? Where do I find this data? Really, I think what this study says is the volume of data, emails, chats that are coming from teams have really outpaced a human's ability to process it all and to have that same output. So really, every minute spent managing digital debt is a minute not somewhere else doing creative work or work that has more return on investment for those businesses. So again, nearly 2 out of 3 people say they don't have enough time and energy to their job. So again, how can we help give them some time back in their day? As we continue through here, next one, again, I just want to start, as we prepared here, just continue to think about, how do we prepare for AI? How does this make sense for my business? I think, a lot of people, when we say, hey, what's your goal for AI? It's, I want more productivity, which a lot of times can be, kind of a catch-all term. I mean, how do we enhance those capabilities? How do we accelerate the pace of work? Those are the different goals, we should be thinking about, and how this tool could potentially help. We think about pain points. Is it burnout? Are we having trouble hiring? What can this address by going through and having AI? What's the current AI capabilities? And I think what this really means is, do my employees know how to work with AI? Do they know how to do prompting? Is there a lot of training that we'd have to put into this to make this an efficient and effective tool? Again, a huge question to come on that side. And the last 2, I think, really go hand in hand. It's a data strategy. It's their infrastructure. The reason why this is important is because of how Copilot for M365 receives and outputs data. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. But again, just as we get started, think about these different elements. Think about how they guide you. Think about what employees fit into this, different buckets, and how can it be important to address each of those as we prep and as we go through on our strategy. So over the many years here, Microsoft has really been building the foundation of business productivity. Yeah, I mean, think about how you initially interacted with those different applications and how that's evolved from the very beginning. I still have nightmares about Clippy. Hopefully, this is probably the grandson of Clippy, which I think is going to really help more with your daily work. And really, the next evolution is not a revolution in those tools, but the AI assistant, which comes with Copilot, which again, we're talking about means more efficiency and more value come from the applications that you're already using. But as we continue to ask this question, it's how can you as a business owner champion this within your organization and be a leader in the change? So I want to walk through these steps, which Microsoft as well as Pax8 believes are the foundation for having success when you integrate this tool. And really it all starts on that first one on the AI checklist, is how do we introduce employees and yourself to interacting with an AI tool? I mean, the obvious answer on this side, is go ahead and purchase the Copilot license for M365, and then you can go through and have access there. But I think there's some better different paths for. Really, what I think is there's ways you don't have to pay additional monies for to access some of the feature of this, to get more familiar with prompting. And really, because of that understanding and those prompts and questions, and able to give feedback on you start to and different feedback you start to give, I think that's going to really enable you to be take better hold of when you have the full tool on here. So we have a lot of great resources. I know Megan's going to share some prompting toolkits, what also going to help you start it after this as a takeaway. But let's talk about where I'm going with this whole conversation. And really all that is around confusingly called Copilot as well. How I like to think of this is Copilot for the web. It's not its true name. It actually was formerly called Bing Chat Enterprise. I don't know if Microsoft just didn't want to be associated with Bing anymore and they changed the name to Copilot, or they just want to confuse everybody. But Copilot for the web is something that's accessible through your Edge browser right now. So this tool is really there to help with that initial understanding of how prompting works, how AI tools can start. It's built on the back of ChatGPT 4, so you are truly going out onto the internet, making queries, getting responses back, refining those responses, and then being able to generate different information back to yourself or different things. Again, as always, not someplace you would share out this information. You wouldn't want to start any kind of sensitive company data or ask anything that's obviously sensitive inside your organization, but really a foundational place where you can get used to talking to an AI interface. Again, at really no cost to yourself if you have Microsoft license currently. Just have that access through the web. I will make one suggestion too, if you really want to get into the weeds and you're still reading books or any kind of different things on that one. There's a book called Co-Intelligence, which I think for anyone who wants to be a leader inside their organization with AI would be a great pickup on Amazon. I think it's $20 or something like that for the paperback version. I promise I don't have any kickbacks on this one. It's just the best book I've read on how AI can transform business and potentially can in the future as well. So again, think about Copilot for the web as a way to get started for your employees, as that low-cost version to get inside, get more interactive with AI. Well, let's continue on to really the next step on this checklist. And really the next checklist, this is talking about making sure data inside your M365 tenant is up to date and is solid. The reason why is because unlike the former tool, Copilot for the web, Copilot for M365 is all bringing information from your tenant. So that's your SharePoint, any other connectors are going out to SQL servers, OneDrive, your Outlook. This is where all that tenant data is. So remember, it's crucial for collaboration and communication inside the organization that is there. If you have limited data inside there, it really is a situation where there's potentially be garbage in, garbage out on those different things. Like I said, that is probably the number one or two things that I tell the people on the side is make sure that your data is very cleanly. That's going to give you the best experience on this side. I do want to make just one more quick note on this one. Those who have their Microsoft ecosystem are going to have the most seamless time in this data, but there are connectors from other third-party data sources which are coming that can be set up to give this tool a little bit more read access information and give even more data on the side. Again, just remember proper security settings when you're having those outside data sources. Again, this is just a little different than Microsoft says, where they think everything should be in their ecosystem. but just know if it's not, there are some third-party connectors you can do as well. But again, data is key to getting the best results inside of Copilot for M365. But again, here's the main point of topic that we've come here to talk about today, and that's Microsoft Copilot for 365. It is the AI productivity tool designed to enhance that work efficiency, integrates with your Microsoft apps you use every day, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. I know the most beneficial for me is definitely Outlook and Teams. One function we won't see today, but just because it's hard to show on a demo, but really is the Teams functions, where it allows me to follow meetings that I'm maybe not able to be a part of, especially management, where you're probably invited to 20 different meetings a day, a lot of which are overlapping. To be able to use that follow function and then be able to understand what happened in that meeting with quick and concise notes from this Copilot 2 is awesome. Again, just tough to demo, so we wanted to point that out here on this one. But the core functionality of Copilot for M365, includes assisting users with tasks like writing, editing, summarizing, data visualizations, and obviously managing your inbox, which is a huge one for everyone. It's using that large language model, just like the other tools built on OpenAI 4.0. So when you think about Copilot for M365, that is your true AI assistant, and that's where you are paying for the licenses to go through it and do that. So again, let's look at the two solutions. Again, Copilot on the left is that Copilot for the web. You're having web grounding, you're having that commercial data protection just inside that silo. And then Copilot for M365 is the one that's $30 a month or $1 a day, where you're actually having this inside of your tenant. You're having this grounding that you're able to go through. It's working with all your M365 apps. And then you have your Copilot Studio as well. What Copilot Studio allows you to do is create your own kind of chatbots or anything else for your organization if you need to have an outside face that's responding to customers. So again, $1 a day for Copilot for M365. Start with that free version for Copilot for the web to get a little more familiar with how those different things work and how you can better communicate when you do take that next step to Copilot for M365. So again, we're going to do a little bit of Copilot in action here. There's 3 things we're going to show on this quick video. I promise I didn't make it too long because nothing bores me more than just a video. So we're going to look over Word, PowerPoint, and Outlook. First, we're going to talk about Outlook, then we're going to see a quick transition to Word, and then finally PowerPoint at the very end. I would recommend you turn your volume up a little bit. I know it's coming a little soft when me and Megan have gone through this, but turn your volume up. If you're having trouble here, let us know. We can make sure this video gets to you so you can have this demonstration. Just know that there are other demonstrations that we can open a little more broader one, but just want to give you a taste of each one of these functions.
Hey, Elliot, can you make sure you're sharing your sound? I'm not hearing it. Maybe others are.
Hey, Megan, the sound should be shared. Let me try that one more time. Let me know if you're still not hearing that.
There we go.
All right, thank you.
Responding and drafting to emails. Wouldn't it be nice to have an assistant who could help us with those responses? Well, with Copilot for M365, we have just that for Outlook. We can see here I have opened up a new email. From there, I can access Copilot Assistance by selecting up here on Copilot, or by hitting / have that submenu open, and then have Copilot help me out. As we're looking at these different ways that Copilot can help us draft these emails, we can see that there's generation options here. From the generation options, we can select on tone and length. We can see that we can make this more direct, have a more neutral tone, casual, formal, or even make it a poem, as well as change the length as we see fit. I'm going to work on asking my colleagues to create a proposal for PAX 8 services here, so I'm going to keep this more formal and keep it to a medium length. Well, from there, I can enter in this information that I want Copilot to generate for the email, and then go ahead and hit generate. So it's going to take a few seconds to go through and create this verbiage that it is for my email. As it's doing, I can think about any other things that I want to make changes on, what I'm seeing there, or maybe anything, that initial prompt maybe didn't have included in it. But once this is finished, I can look at my email, and there's a couple different options here. If I really hate this, I can completely discard this email. I can ask Copilot to retry this. If I feel that something is missing in this email, I can go ahead and respond here in this text box to this to try to add different content in here. It's always recommended that you always can communicate, yes, this is good or bad feedback. This helps the tool better understand your style and your responses you're looking for on email. But I actually like this, and I'm going to go ahead and keep this from here. So I'd go ahead and keep this generated text. And if I wanted to make any other changes now, I certainly can and do this more manual. But as you can see, this email that I was looking to draft up using Copilot just took seconds for my response. And again, there's multiple different ways we can work with Guide Copilot here within Outlook.
Yeah, and just a couple things to add to here on Copilot for Outlook. Obviously, when you're responding to emails, it's going to take a lot of information from the person who's already sent over emails to you instead of creating something different. Or there's also Copilot that can, give you some prompts or tips as well. So again, just scratching the surface here on Outlook on these different drafts. But again, as you can see, very quickly can design and create emails. But let's go ahead and continue on, and let's look a little bit about here at work.
Copilot at Work can help you quickly put together proposals, summaries, and other documentation you may need to create in your day-to-day. With Copilot, you can help avoid writer's block and make sure you have what you need when you need it. When you open up a new blank Word document, you can see the options to engage with Copilot to get this creation started. I can either select up here or select the icon in the middle of my screen to start drafting. Once I open this draft, you can see that I can reference files, and in here I can reference multiple files to have Copilot go through, either make summaries or create other documentation from. But I'm going to go here and enter some text information to go ahead and have Copilot generate an executive summary for me to present to my Vice President of Technology on this technology. So I'll go ahead, and once I have that in there, I can go ahead and hit on generate. And once this is generating, it's going to start creating this executive summary for me. Please remember, while this is generating, it's always wise to double check any content created while utilizing this tool, and to make sure that it's fitting both your voice and the overall goal of the documentation. But as you can see, with one clickable sentence here, as this is still generating through, has created me a multiple page document for me to go ahead and present once this is finished. Once this is finished generating, if I do want to make any changes after this inclusion has finished, I can go through and do it right here. I can either keep it, regenerate, cancel, or again, ask here to make it more formal or any kind of differences on this. I'm going to go ahead and keep it and save this to go ahead and send over to my Vice President of Technology to be able to better understand how Copilot can help them here in the future.
Thank you, everyone. And then here, this last one again, we're just going to take that same document that we created here in Word and then utilize it to start here on a presentation. I think on this presentation, the good thing to understand is it's always kind of a rough draft to get things started, but can definitely be that starting point that you'd need to have on PowerPoint.
We saw how simple and easy it was to have Copilot help us create an executive summary inside of Word. But let's take a look at how easy it is to take the next step and create a presentation inside of PowerPoint. The executive summary I created has piqued the interest of my VP, and she is now wanting me to create a presentation to show a larger group of decision makers. With Copilot, I can jump right in to getting this request taken care of. I am opening up a blank presentation to get things kicked off. I again will engage Copilot by selecting on the icon here in the top right. Once this is opened up, it's going to give me some options on how to start this presentation. I can create this presentation about a certain topic by entering text. I can add just individual slides if I'd like to, or I can create a presentation from a file as basis. Since our executive summary went over so well, I'm going to use this as our starting point. So by selecting file, it's then going to give me some suggestions on files to use, but I want to make sure we're using our specific executive summary. So I'm going to go ahead and search for that, and I can see that our executive summary we worked on earlier is available here. I can go ahead and click through this, and now if I hit send, Copilot is going to begin to create this presentation. It's going to start scanning through the files to find pertinent information to make sure that it's added to these slides. And while I'm allowing Copilot some time to finish this creation, I can think about what style or other pieces of outside information that might be important to make sure that this is included. But as we can see, only a few seconds have gone by and over 43% of this has been generated already. Again, a much improved speed on myself going through and doing this initial start off. So as I can go through again, just make sure that you understand the limitations for Copilot, understand this first product that you're going to see out of this is a rough draft. But again, the time savings is paramount on me going through and individually doing this. As you can see, after a few seconds, we have gotten this initial rush draft. We can see what has been put on here from agenda to overview to different information on features and benefits are coming from this executive summary.
Yeah, awesome. And like we said, really just the first rough draft. If I wanted to go in a little bit more here on this side, I can use Designer as part of Copilot to make sure it's fitting my branding guide. I can ask anything about the presentation, either reorder the slides or change visuals or content inside of there. A lot of different things where I can respond to Copilot and be able to have this presentation be helped designed through them. But as we can kind of understand and see some of those very simple examples, again, just scratching the surface on how employees can leverage Copilot to help them do tasks. Again, I think we saw really them responding to emails. There's always ways to summarize long PDFs, generate images for the PowerPoint like we didn't do, and really get answers for either specific or more complex questions. Again, I think for myself, certainly, our organization has been around for a while now, and a lot of times that institutional knowledge can be buried in places that new employees or employees who are just getting on board might not know. But now with this Copilot tool, they're able to quickly search through our SharePoint, our different data sets, and be able to find that information more than them stumbling around. So again, I find that very helpful for new employees who are joining new teams on getting those answers. But like I said, the three examples we sent here are probably things that someone's going to be doing on your marketing team or your sales team daily, or you're writing up different HR, things they have to abide by, different rules. It's a way to just, again, move forward quicker through those different tasks you need to do, and then, polish them up at the end. But again, as we keep talking about this and keep reiterating, it's really, how do I think about my different employees or myself? How is this going to affect me and affect them? And how is that dollar a day to pay for this going to bring back that value to myself? So again, what employees will this help, and how will this help you as well in your day-to-day, as the two things I want you to take away? And finally, we're going to come to really the last piece of this checklist, and that is organizing the sensitivity data. I really think this is the most important step in the checklist, getting your data right, and then talking about protecting this data. We really can always go in a little bit more on some technical sessions that you want to work with EasyIT through them and ourselves to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with this, but really it's confidentially in privacy. Your data inside of a tenant can include sensitive information such as personal details, financial records, proprietary business information. If this data is not adequately protected, it could fall into the wrong hands, whether it be internally or externally. We don't want that to happen. So the second half of this too is, users need to trust the data. This data is safe and secure. If data protection measures are not in place, it could erode trust from the user, trust that you have in your own employees, impact any kind of reputation. But really, this is what leads us to preventing this data loss prevention, and that's strong data protection measures to eliminate these data loss scenarios. And that's why when we think about this AI tool, there are 6 different license types that you can have. But really, I want you to know that it should be on 3 base licenses. You should either be on Business Premium, M365 E3, or E5 to be able to take advantage of this Copilot license. And the reason is just that, preventing data loss. Each one of those solutions have tools within there that can make sure access to SharePoint is guarded, make sure there's no identity rules that allow someone to take data outside of the organization. Again, really protecting your data. So in conclusion on this side, really protecting your data while using Copilot is really critical for maintaining privacy, ensuring regulatory compliance, user trust. So it's always recommended to follow those best practices for data protection and stay updated on your security measures for Microsoft. Obviously, that's why you work with someone like EasyIT and PaxSafe to make sure you're in the right place to do that. But again, this is really that big step on this side. And again, just to reiterate here, let's talk a little bit more of what that means. So again, Copilot inherits your organization's existing Microsoft 365 security as well as compliance and privacy policies. So if those are already in place, you're ahead of the game. But if not, again, let's work with the team to make sure you are there from EasyIT. It's logically isolated, protected within your 365 tenant, and always within your control. So by design, Copilot respects these user-specific groups and permissions and any of that content. Again, that's why, if we don't have those, it's paramount to have those in place. So again, make sure that you're classifying teams, ensure the right people are in the right conversations. And again, just to reiterate, Business Premium, M365 E3, M365 E5 are those licenses that have those important capabilities like sensitivity labels, retention labels, to make sure those are applied to your tenant. So again, doing these things will help ensure the semantic index, which is what Copilot uses to gain this information, is reasoning over the right set of business contexts and content, and make sure the relevant information is coming up. So again, what we've talked about here on the side is preparing yourself and your employees how to interact with the tool, making sure that data is in the right place to be able to have this tool utilize it, and then make sure that the security controls are in place so Copilot isn't accessing information inside those data that it shouldn't be, and as well as the right users are getting access to that information. But really, what all of this is to say is Copilot is here to help you focus on what matters, right? Microsoft likes to use the term "it frees your mind" and from yourself and your employees from these repetitive tasks. So really, you can spend more time focusing on what matters, right? Running your database business, growing your customer base, building your brand, scaling securely. Again, our whole goal on this one is to be able to serve your customers better inside Outlook, land more deals, be able to get more proposals out efficiently, all these different things with all the different apps and services that Microsoft does offer. But from here, I really appreciate your time and spending time to talk a little bit more Copilot. Like I said, I can send over some more information on use cases, more demos on how you can interact with this Copilot. But I really want to turn it back over to Megan here for a second to talk about what are the next steps if you want to move forward with Copilot for M365.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Elliot. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So if you are interested in learning more about Copilot, we have at EasyIT a Microsoft 365 Copilot Readiness Assessment. You can go ahead and click to the next slide. So if you want to know what that assessment is going to entail, we're going to look at things like, do you have the right licensing? Is your data ready to be indexed by Copilot? I'm not going to read through all the bullet points here, but there is a very important project that needs to happen here before you would ever want to have one of these tools just running in your environment. And then, as Elliot mentioned, it's really a good idea to have a group of people that are going to champion Copilot. Typically, it starts with the leadership team or people that are going to take the time to invest in figuring out the productivity and then determine within your organization what other employees would benefit from this tool. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Continued on again, just making sure that we have everything ready to go for you guys. So if you are ready to start the journey of that AI readiness assessment, if you are an EasyIT client, all you're going to have to do is reach out to your account coordinator or account manager. So a simple email just saying, hey, I attended the webinar and I want more information. Give me the costs and breakdown of how this looks, and we'd be more than happy to communicate with you on that. And I know we have a couple organizations that joined the webinar today that are not EasyIT clients. Feel free to just email sales@easyit.com, and we will get you all the information you need on an AI readiness assessment, and still more than happy to help you walk down that path. And then that QR code you see on this last slide right here, guys, this is really, really important. If you guys could just take 2 or 3 minutes to complete the survey, this information is actually proof to Microsoft that we had this webinar. So giving this proof is what allows us to have people like Elliot come and do these presentations for us at EasyIT, which is so valuable. So again, if we could just take a moment here, 2-3 minutes, scan that QR code on your phone and complete the survey, it would mean so much to us and allows us to continue to do events like this, bringing you information on the cutting edge technology. All right, now I will go ahead and open it up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to use the Q&A, or you can just throw it in the chat. I'll be monitoring both for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to your questions.
It looks like Evan, Amazon book title. Elliot, I think you mentioned a book. Would you mind throwing that in the chat?
Yeah, it's called Co-Intelligence is the name of the book. Since I'm sharing, Megan, if you don't mind jumping that in, I would, or I can send that title over and make sure you get that. But Co-Intelligence is the name of the book.
Oh, perfect. Kurt's on top of it yet. Oh, Christopher just pointed out to me the survey is not available yet. So I will send out an email reminder to all attendees. Again, that is Microsoft's survey, so I do not have control over when it opens up. So we are all set there. And while we wait for questions to trickle in, Christopher is our expert from EasyIT that's been leading the Copilot endeavor. Christopher, is there anything you want to say to EasyIT clients or potential clients about Copilot while we have you online?
Nothing comes to mind. The one thing that did strike me during the meeting there is that if people are using Copilot in the Edge browser, all of our clients do have that currently turned on for protection. So if they're signed into the browser with their corporate identity, it does actually silo off the conversation in that. So that is something that I'm not sure if you were aware of.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing, Christopher. John Gray, thank you for asking if we used Copilot to produce the presentation. Elliot, did you use Copilot?
I didn't actually on this one.
Oh no.
Yeah, I have though on this one used it for multiple presentations. The thing that's been most beneficial for me is on branding on this one. This is obviously more of a general Microsoft presentation that a lot of the details come from Microsoft, but for myself in day to day, there's a lot of times where I need to follow the PAX8 branding guide, and we just had a very small taste of PowerPoint on its getting started, but I can really refine those different elements when I do it. So like, while I didn't create this presentation, I have created multiple presentations utilizing Copilot over the last 7 months that I've had access to this tool. And a lot of that sometimes has come from data as simple as a 30-minute meeting where I maybe had talked to someone at another organization or internally and be able to use that transcript as a basis for our PowerPoint data. So there's some really cool ways to use the different things and have kind of that cross-pollination of where you're getting that. But it isn't specifically for this presentation, but definitely I've used it quite a bit for that side. In my candid experience, I think the only thing that I do find lacking from the tool right now is some of the functions in Excel. We didn't show it today, but I think it's still a little bit more rudimentary. Those who are really Excel experts probably wouldn't be quite impressed yet, but I think that's going to be coming a long way. So, but for everything else, I do use it quite a bit in my day to day. Like I said, it realistically does save me about 2 hours a week on going through and responding to emails, creating content, or different things on that side. So, very long answer to say no, I didn't on this one, but I have used it quite extensively.
Perfect. Thanks, Elliot. We did have another question come through. What key improvements have finance/accounting departments realized through Copilot?
Like I said, I think there are ones that are a bit laggard on this side. I've seen the most benefits, to be, again, very transparent, because I can't be, because I don't work for Microsoft, marketing, sales, HR, that side. And the reason why I think finance and accounting has come that way is because there is some limitations still on Excel. And I think once they're going to have that connector into Power BI, we'll have a lot more visualizations. I think we will see that expansion and improvement that we've seen in marketing and sales for those content creators move to those other fields. So in my very honest opinion, I think it's lacking very much. I think they're probably seeing the least productivity gain at the moment, while those others are seeing a much larger one. So I think it's to be determined on how that works, but for a moment, they're probably the laggards.
And that's a good to-do item for me too, is when I follow up with more information to those that attended today, I'll try to find some case studies out there, and I'll look specifically for some accounting and finance departments to see, use cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a lot of our use cases here today we talked about on, productivity and different things are coming from Microsoft in very large companies as well. I know ourselves who work more in, medium-sized, smaller businesses. We're working on getting some information back from those early adopters. Well, I think that's going to match a little bit closer. Anecdotally, those numbers have been very similar to those early access customers on what they've seen from productivity gain. Their responses on how much time they saved is held pretty true, even those larger organizations. But again, we're still finalizing some of that data points there.
Any other questions? Thank you for the kind words. Had quite a few people say this was very helpful and some good information. So thank you so much for the kind words. Don't see any other questions coming in. So again, this presentation is recorded. I will follow up with everyone that attended today to see if you guys have any questions and provide some more information. And again, the next steps, if you want to reach out to EasyIT and go down the path of the AI readiness assessment for Microsoft 365 Copilot. And so with that, I just want to again thank everyone for attending, and thank you so much, Elliot and Pax8, for putting this presentation together.
Thank you everyone for your time.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care.